a 120 horse car has been putting some sand on it.
We're trying to build a bell tower, which seems a bit of a silly thing to do, but Basildon's about doing silly things and bringing them off extraordinarily well, Retro 97 being one of them. This was closing some roads so that we could run some cars to give the people of Basildon a treat, and it grew from there. There was nothing more sophisticated than that. I had this phone call and somebody said, where can I watch Retro 97? So I explained where the route was. So she said, where's the best place to watch it? So I said, well, what do you mean? So she said, well, I can't get very far. She said, I'm getting old. She said, but I do want to come down. I've followed motor racing all my life. She said, I watch it all the time on the box. I said, oh yeah. I never ever thought I'd see a racing car in my life. So I said, how old are you? She said, I'm 84. So I said to her, well, if you stand, and I told her where to stand down near the swimming pool, and I said, if you put a red hat on and wave, I said, try and get to the front. I said, when I come round, I know who you are, and I'll give you a wave. And lo and behold, there she was with a red hat on, waving away.
Canon Lionel Webber is the rector of Basildon, one of the new towns founded by the post-war Labour government in 1949 on what was once farmland 25 miles east of London. He is a most unusual clergyman. He is chaplain to Her Majesty the Queen and chaplain to the prestigious British Racing Drivers Club, the BRDC. He's driving the C-Type Jaguar that won Le Mans in 1953 in the hands of Duncan Hamilton and Tony Rolt. Canon Webber has been a lifelong motorsport enthusiast.
Retro 97 started with a sort of mad idea. You know, we were going to have 2 or 3 cars and we were going to put them outside and we were going to charge people a fiver to have their photographs taken. Then that seemed a pity, knowing some of the machinery we were going to get. Oh, I rang the chief executive up and said, how about doing this? And he said, it's not been done before. In that case, he said, it's time it was. And it really was as simple as that. And one of the great things about Basildon is that the police, the council, ourselves and other agencies, we all work very closely together. And that is how these things happen. They don't sort of happen overnight like that. It took a long time in, working up those relationships. And so the district council were brilliant. I mean, they facilitated the closure of the roads. I mean, there was a marvellous bit where I was aware that there was a hump in the road. I think it was a sleeping policeman. And I thought, God, if they go over that, they'll pull the front off these things. So I rang up the chief executive, and next day I went there in the car and it had gone because they wanted it to happen. And the original route that we had, in my mind, was actually a very simple one. It was just up and down a main straight with a roundabout. It was the police who said, oh no, that's not big enough, let's extend it. Then we had to cut it down because otherwise it would have just got ridiculous, And so the police, again, were fabulous. And it's a bit special, this bell tower. It's the only steel glass bell tower in the world. A very beautiful design. We got 6 bells. If you can think of anything more stupid, when the church was consecrated in 1962, the bishop decided to give it a present, and he gives it 6 bells in a bell foundry in London, where they've been since 1935. 2 of them medieval, 1 the first bell in the world to have been cast by a woman. All from a redundant church not very far away from St Nicholas, Colchester. And when I came, I heard about these bells, and we were then told we might have to pay rent in the bell foundry for them because they were taking such a lot of room. So I tried to sell them because I thought, who wants 6 bells? We don't want 6 bells. Found out we couldn't sell them because they got preservation orders on them. So then we decided, well, if we can't sell them with the aid of the Development Corporation, we'd better build a tower to put them in. And this, I think, was about 1983. So we've lived with this for a long time. And we've got to raise a lot of money. We've got a Millennium Award for half of it, so we've still got 350,000 to raise.
Yeah, we're here today because of Lionel and obviously his involvement in motorsport, and he's obviously wanting to do something for Basildon and put Basildon on the map. And you know, we're very pleased to be here with Tom Wheatcroft, and you know, we hope he has a good day. It's made the sun right this morning, so hopefully everything will go well for him. And if he's trying to raise funds for the church or for Basildon, then good luck to him. Hope it all goes well.
One or two companies had said to me, well, we might come on board, but what are you doing to raise money or heighten the profile or what have you? So Retro came out of that. How, you know, we'll do it for Retro.
Right, well this is a 1903 Gordon Bennett Napier. Gordon Bennett, as it was named after the Gordon Bennett trials in Ireland in 1903. This basically is the original British racing car and is the original British racing green, where British racing green comes from. It competed in the 1903 Gordon Bennett trials, but unfortunately it crashed. It was rebuilt and again competed in 04, where it again crashed. And but it has completed many runs since. It came to the National Motor Museum at Bewley, must have been about 10-12 years ago. We raised a sum of somewhere near £300,000 to buy it back into England, where it was in America, and we brought it back to England. Done very little to it since. Made a few modifications, made sure it ran properly, put it back to more original condition than it was, and then we've used it for many events, including London and Brighton runs on many occasions. It's hard work to drive. It's a very heavy clutch, and it's a very quick car. It'll do 70-80 mile an hour without even thinking about it. It's 6.5, 7 litre, 4-cylinder, and very quick.
And it's one of the nice things about being chaplain to the BRDC, you know, you go to the dinner and everything else. And so I'm sitting there after the dinner with Stirling Moss, talking about one or two things. And I said to him, if we bring this off, would you be interested? And I shan't forget, he said, you bring this off, I'll give you the day. And I laughed, I said, I can't afford it. And Stirling said to me, don't insult me. You know, he said, I'll do it for the parish. So I thought, well, that's a good start, you know.
I didn't find you, Dougie found you.
I'm here because the Canon Lionel Webber, when he asks you, you do it. He is one of the most persuasive, charming men that you'll ever meet. And Lionel could sell an Eskimo bathing costume. And he said to me, look, it'd be a nice idea to have this going on the streets, which of course is true. And the way he's managed to do it is quite staggering. He's turned the weather on, and the people seem keen about it, and I think it's been a wonderful day. I hope everybody has enjoyed it as much as we have.
I'll be in severe trouble. Crikey. Where does everything fit? Kevin, it's not like a Mondeo at all, you know that. You're right.
Yeah, you got space there.
Not every Newtown car park has been a race paddock for the day. Here's the unique Jaguar XJ13. The Maserati 250F. Ferrari 512S. Nub 120, the most successful of the early Jaguars, Ian Appleyard's double Alpine Rally winning XK 120.
Were you addressing me, or is that the way I address you? Which side is it? D40.
Just before the main pad, before the police pace car.
Okay.
And then that will be all right. All right.
Do you want to ask someone to sit in it?
Yes, I do. I'll get the chair of the council to sit.
Fine. Okay.
Auctioneer Robert Brooks exploring the circuit in the Dutch National Motor Museum's D-Type Jaguar. This historic car was made for far smoother roads, and it won the 1957 Le Mans 24 Hours, co-driven by Ron Flockhart and Ivor Bueb.
£1 million an ounce, his sweat is. £1 million an ounce, wouldn't it be? Yeah. But
a lot of it was personal contact. I mean, the BRDC, the British Racing Drivers Club, were fabulous. It went to their board and they promised its full support, and members were tremendous, and the board were very good. But we had a problem. There was a big event out at Ramps where they were going to have a big retro, and all the stars were going out there with the exception of Stirling, who promised to come to Basildon. So I thought, that's one up I got on that. Well, after a few candles and one thing and another, Rams was cancelled. And so there were a lot of people with nowhere to go that particular weekend. So we brought them in on the act. Tony Brooks came, which was very special. And Derek Bell said that he'd like to come. Now, in the midst of all of this, Chris Amon was coming over for Goodwood, you know. And I'm talking to one or two people, and I said, I wonder if Chris had come to Basildon. Well, we'll ask him. And so two of his pals, Nigel Roebuck and Ian Young, they asked Chris, and he says yes.
Well, this is the BRM Mark II V16, 1953-54. We brought it today from the Donington collection, which obviously belongs to Tom Wheatcroft. This runs on a special mix of methanol, acetone and 5-star fuel, so it is very corrosive, and we have to clean the system right through every time we've used it and before we go to use it again. And it's a very complex and complicated motor car, and it is quite a lot of work each time you go to get the car running. You're probably talking of a day to day and a half before you even dare turn the engine over.
A new lap record and another victory. So far, 3 events and 3 wins.
One of the things that I liked about it was the old-fashioned driver's briefing, where everybody just stood round a microphone outside, as it used to be. And Stirling said, you know, we're not here to show off, you know, but to show the cars off.
It sounds as though we're going to be going out and then we're going to be coming back against each other, which is no big deal if you realise that it's a normal road. You keep to the left, and when there's a car coming towards you, he keeps to the left, and we pass. And at the same time, try and involve the people, you know, wave, blow kisses to the girls and all those sort of things, and let's try and make the public enjoy seeing the cars.
And so the police, again, you know, were fabulous.
I put you on to the police. Where are you, sir? This is where it all goes wrong.
Good afternoon, I'm Sergeant Andy Barker from Langdon Traffic Police. The good news is we're here to have fun too, alright? We want everybody to have a good day. The bad news is, although the roads are closed, they're still roads.
I think they got a little worried towards the time when they began to realise it was getting big and some of these cars were a bit powerful.
Of course, if any of you have been done for speeding recently, there's going to be a traffic policeman in the road if you're looking for an easy target. Have a good day. Thanks very much.
I'll marry your mum and dad anytime you like.
Ever since the 1890s, continental motor races have been run almost every weekend on closed public roads. But here on the British mainland, an Act of Parliament would have been necessary until recently. Now, the understandably nervous Essex Police were closing the Basildon circuit, and to begin the day, an initial cavalcade lap formed up. Ford GT40, competition MGB, the 1964 Monte Carlo Rally winning Works Mini Cooper, costume-bodied Lister Jaguar, two of the most original surviving Lister Jaguars from 1958-59, the Harrington Alpine stands no chance against a vintage sports Bentley, or the Appleyard XK120. And even less against Stirling Moss in the Maserati 250F. And next up in the line is the 1953 Le Mans winning Jaguar C-Type.
C-Type Jaguar.
While a police patrol Volvo runs admirably at walking pace, some of those driving the historic cars behind began to fear they would oil up their spark plugs.
Right yellow C-Type.
Ferrari's 1958 Testarossa is followed by the big Bentley, Healy Silverstone, Ferrari 268 SP, Chris Amon driving, and the 250 GT short wheelbase. Georges Roche's invincible Talbots were so called because they won their class in virtually every type of competition they contested. The Rob Walker team short wheelbase Ferrari, which won the TT at Goodwood in 1961, driven by Stirling Moss, is followed by the Type 35B Bugatti, E-Type Jaguar, and two Ford GT40s, powered by a similar type of V8 engine to that which powers the Shelby American Cobra. Another Ford engine car, the Lotus 22. Tom Wheatcroft from Donington Park with his BRM V16 Mark II, MV Augusta, Lenham Healy, Pink Floyd drummer Nick Mason's Ferrari 512S from 1970, Richard Druitt's 1963 Indianapolis Lotus, MV, Rayam's Norton, Cooper, veteran team owner John Coombs in his Jaguar D-Type, Bugatti Type 35B, Tony Brooks in Graham Hill's Old Faithful BRM, won the 1962 World Championship. 2-litre Ferrari Mondial Sports from the mid-50s, leading the 1947 Squander Bug, and Tony Brooks in the BRM. This amazing old car has got 20,000 racing miles to its name. the pioneering Gordon Bennett Napier. Fiat co-sponsored Retro 97 and Bruce, chair of Basildon District Council, enjoying the fresh air on their chain drive Veteran, with Tony Merrick's Formula One Ferrari in cool pursuit. Formula One Simtech warming up. Back in comes Moss. The Rally Ford Escort. And Chris Amon in the 268 SP Dino. The XK120. C-Type. E-Type, XK120 Coupe, and the wonderful Lotus 25. One of the great shapes of 60s motor racing, the Lola Chevrolet T70 GT. Oh well, quite enough fresh air for one day.
The BRM on a trailer. It's a great fitting, bad luck, Tom.
The V16 had simply oiled its plugs and would run again later in the day.
Other cars down here. Looks as if it didn't make it.
With the cavalcade over and everybody having a fair idea of where the circuit went, cars were sent out in groups. The pace quickened. Here's Tiffany Dell in the latest Lister Storm, fresh from Le Mans. Followed by the 1994 F1 Simtech, Will Hoy in the Ford Mondeo, and Jackie Stewart's 1970 Formula One March.
If you are members of the general public, if you could make your way to the circuit somewhere or other, it would help us, please. Thank you. Moon River.
Saloon car star David Leslie reunited with his 10-year-old Ecosse Le Mans car.
Two cars, Stirling in the Maserati Chris Amon in the Ferrari. We've got Tony Brooks in the BRM Agia, Derek Bell, the Ferrari.
Brilliant day. It's here obviously it all sport a good cause, but an opportunity to come to Basildon and drive a racing car on the public roads couldn't be missed. And the listener's storm, I was doing wheel spin for about 100 yards, but you know, he's such an enthusiastic man, you can't help but support him and his cause.
Now it was becoming more serious. The stars had got their crash helmets on. Here's Derek Bell in the Ferrari 512S. Here's the Spirit of Basildon. The bus goes one way, and here comes Stirling Moss in the Maserati 250F, the other. Still as yet running slowly, but the pace will quicken. The British Racing Green Napier leads another group, followed by the Alvis, and the Great Parry Thomas Leyland 8.
And the 1240 Alvis, 1923. Here comes Stirling in the Maserati. Tony Brooks in the BRM. In the
car I was driving was a 250F Maserati, which is something I drove in my heyday in the 50s. One of the nicest handling Formula One cars. There were others that were faster, but this was one of the nicest.
1930 work performance later. For the PL2.
I'll have to find.
D-type! 54 D-type, who's in this? Come on! Bloody hell. Who's in the D-type?
Putting some sand on it.
Canon Webber and his tiny staff at St Martin's had slaved long and hard for this day. He'd fixed the weather, and now it was time for some fun, to praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. As the passenger said, stands on it, His Reverence, doesn't he?
Right?
The yellow one. The yellow one.
I knew he shouldn't have come.
In the 1950s, this D-type twice finished fourth at Le Mans. The Lotus 29 revolutionised Indianapolis racing in 1963. This was Dan Gurney's car.
Bit of nostalgia. Went out in the D-type. Well, I went out in the modern car, you know, but I think the spirit of the event really has been older vehicles, nostalgic vehicles, and to drive one of the D-types that went to Le Mans in 1955, part of the winning team, was a right honour, so I'm very happy to have driven that.
In Ferrari's 50th year, Retro 97 presented this great cross-section of racing Ferraris. Testarossa V12, Dino V6, Dino V8, 512S V12, the granddaddy of them all, the 712P Can-Am car, 7-litre V12, and the little 2-litre 4-cylinder Ferrari Mondial from the mid-1950s.
I've had a chance to meet, it seems to me like an awful lot of people, because they're coming up with autographs and then they come up to talk and so on. And of course a lot of other drivers, they've come from all over the place. I mean, America and Australia and New Zealand, Chris Amon, and it's been wonderful to sort of see them. I raced 84 cars in my lifetime, in my racing career, and quite a lot of them are here.
Between 1967 and 1971, Can-Am McLarens like Richard Ayres here absolutely dominated what was the world's richest road race series. Chevrolet V8 engine, over 8 litres, over 600 horsepower. Ex-Formula One driver Howden Ganley in the Le Mans C-Type. Late in the day, the big cars and stars went out to run one final time. The only question was, would the BRM V16 restart?
Having another go. Do you know where we saw it?
I remember somebody saying to me, you know, you've let a tiger out, for God's sake, don't let go of its tail. Well, we managed to hang on to the tail, and I remember when they opened the public roads, it just gone 4 o'clock, breathing a sigh of relief.